Welcome, everybody, to PinstripeChronicles podcast. I'm Tats. I'm here with Rob and Donald, and we've been focusing a lot about all the different positions and who can come, who can go. And one thing that really needs to get some attention is the starting rotation. And there's been a lot of rumors about Verlander being a possibility for somebody to come and pitch behind Cole. And I'm kind of curious, after coming off the injury and his history with Houston, if Verlander is a good fit with other pitchers on the market or available via trade. What's your guys' take on Verlander?
I get serious Corey Kluber vibes from this deal. Brian Cashman loves him some semi-injured vets that work out, that have a workout, and Brian Cashman is blown away by it. I mean, we all, they're obviously, we're hearing now that people were really impressed by Verlander's workout. But I heard exactly the same thing from Corey Kluber's workout last year, and it's almost chapter and verse. I mean, last year it was the very same trainer who had ties with Kluber, and that obviously helped push things in our direction. And Cashman overpaid for him, and now. Fast forward a year later, as if he hasn't already learned that a veteran guy coming off Tommy John surgery is probably not the best guy to rely on as a number two starter. He's gone on and he's put an offer on the table for Verlander. Verlander, when he's a couple of years ago when he's fully healthy, ace, number one starter, not a question. If this was 2 years ago, I'd be excited right now. But 2 years later, coming off Tommy John, after we've already experienced Tyon coming off surgery, had Corey Kluber, who was out for about a year, maybe two. That didn't work last year. Did not work. And we want to roll it back again with another guy coming off surgery. I don't like it. I think what the Yankees should be doing is making use of their assets. They got a ton of assets. Yep. Why not go and get a young, controllable starter? The Marlins have 1 million. Oakland, we just discussed Manaea. These guys you can acquire in a deal. Young, controllable starters. That's what we should be looking for. The reason why is because this is a young man's game, especially pitchers. You want young pitchers. That's what you really want, because when you get older, you start to break down. That's just the nature of the beast. So you want young, controllable starters that have upside. There is zero upside to this move.
Yeah, when it comes to the rotation, the way it looks right now with who's currently on the roster, we have Cole, Severino, Monty, Tyon, and Herman as our five. And you could squeeze in there depending on who's you also have available Garcia, Schmidt, and Hill. So, those are 8 starting pitchers that can be, legitimate. You can get, solid outings every time. Schmidt was still not sure of, but when he was here, he wasn't terrible. He had some growing pains to work through. Hill did very well, I think, out of the bullpen. So he could be that long relief type pitcher that we lost with Sessa. So,
Hill was a better starter. He was a much better starter.
Yeah, no, I thought Hill was a great starter, but I think he's going to end up in that long relief role.
I don't think that's the best use of him
as a starter. I think Medina is more in tune to be in the bullpen because his control issues are much greater and his velocity is also much greater than Hill. So he might be the more bullpen type. I think with Hill is you might have to sell high on him right now. He came off of a really impressive year. Despite there being issues with command, he came in and looked unhittable. And, he came back down to earth a little bit, but he still looked really good despite all of the issues that people knew about him showing up. The thing with Verlander is I wouldn't mind it, but they're going to give him a big deal. It seems like they're going to give him 2 years. I don't think it's going to be a 1 year. He might get 2. And I'm just like, that's where I kind of get a little weary.
Yeah.
It just feels
like Passon thinks it's going to be a year plus an option, Rob. Sorry. I think it might be a year plus an option. But so I agree. Keep going. Sorry.
No, it's I just feel like it's a rinse and repeat cycle because we did the same thing last year. You know, we had question marks in the rotation, and then we brought in 2 guys who hadn't pitched in 2 years. Now we have a question. We have one at least one need in that rotation, and we're going to bring in a guy who hasn't pitched in 2 years. So it's just a rinse and repeat thing. Plus, you still don't know if Sevy's going to be Sevy. You got to kind of worry about his health. Tyone's coming off of a different surgery. You don't know what you're going to get out of Montgomery. If he's the same guy last year, then great. That's a solid number 3. Herman, I don't want him anymore. He sucks, in my opinion. He's not a good starter. He's a better bullpen arm, so that's where I keep him. They ruined Davy Garcia, so a change of scenery is probably good for him, despite him being 22 or whatever he is. Clark Schmidt, they don't know what they want to do with him, so I think they kind of have to add an arm like Verlander just to solidify the starting 5. But I'm with Donald on this one. I'm much rather go the route of a trade, get a guy from Oakland because they're selling off everybody. Maybe try to get Hendricks from Chicago. He's good. Maybe you go to a team like Cincinnati and try to pay a large price for Castillo. There are names that are out there, names that we don't even know about potentially. But it does seem like Verlander is their guy because Cashman likes the injured pitcher. He's got ties to Cole. I mean, I can see it happening. I just hope they don't throw like $40 million for 2 years at him because that's scary to me. It's going to be, I don't know, because Kluber was good last year. It's just that he got hurt again, and we missed him for like a good 3 months. So if Verlander's healthy, then yeah, it's going to work out because you know he's going to be solid. But that's the question.
My question to you, Rob, is what is the upside to this? What is the upside to Verlander signing? Because the best I think you can get out of him is a solid, maybe say 3-4 months. I think if you're coming off Tommy John surgery, you're pushing it if you're asking him to start every 5 days.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's why I don't really want to do it. I mean, if that's their only move in the rotation, then it's a thumbs down for me. But if they get Verlander and maybe another guy, and then their rotation is much better looking, maybe they go 6-man this year because they talked about it last year and they didn't do it. So maybe this is the year they try a 6-man rotation, and then they maybe they bring back Cortez and he's that guy. Maybe they use an opener to kind of limit Verlander's innings early. There are ways you can manipulate it to where when you get to that, the dog days of the year, July, August, September, that he's ready to go. Because we saw with Tyone, when the season got going, he got better.
Yeah.
It's going to be a time-consuming process. So it can't be their only move in the rotation. I'd be much more comfortable giving it to Heel than being like, okay, we're going to give you this money. Go be your old self despite not having pitched for 2 years.
Well, another thing, the aspect, sorry, Tats. Think about the Sevy situation plus Tyone, right? So Tyone's just coming off injury. Sevy, he's not started in God knows how long, right? I mean, he was coming out of the bullpen, he was very effective. If the Yankees are asking Sevy, Tyone, and Verlander all coming off major injuries to just waltz in as 3/5 of the rotation, this looks exactly the same thing as what we were doing last year. I don't understand, why does Brian Cashman feel the need to repeat what didn't work? If you have most of your rotation guys coming off an injury, you're gonna get one of them is gonna get hurt. Then you're scrambling again. I think this is too much of a risk. I would like Severino to be, say, let's say he's the 3rd man, right? Then you got Tyone as the 4th man, and 5th man maybe you got Heel, and then maybe that would make sense to me. You got Cole as number 1, so you need a number 2. I don't want it to be Verlander. I think it needs to be somebody who's younger. And I think Nasty Nestor, I think he'd be excellent coming out as a long
Well, that's
reliever.
why he's kind of the wild card I was going to bring up and speak about him on his own, because he was one of those guys that was, a spot starter. We didn't expect much from him, and he just wowed everybody. Whether you were a Yankee fan or a fan from another team, he was just beyond impressive. And I think he actually is one of those I would take Herman off of the rotation and slide Cortez, Nesta into that, because I think he's earned that spot in the rotation. We actually have more of an abundance of pitchers, but there's just too many question marks around them where you need to figure out who gets moved, who gets that chance to perform, and do they bring some, who replaces those names on the roster. So the starting rotation is very up in the air, and there are so many question marks that it's got to take, they have to start shifting the focus away from who's going to be the shortstop or the first baseman. The rotation is really what's going to have the most question marks.
I still think your biggest issue is figuring out shortstop and first base. I still think on paper our rotation is solid the way it is right now. Even if the number 5 man is a contest between Heel and Herman and maybe Clark Schmidt, you could roll into the season with that, assuming Severino is healthy and Tyone's ready to go. That's, a big if, but assuming they're healthy, then Severino is more than capable of being a number 2. I mean, the guy was an ace before getting hurt for us. Montgomery has already proven he can be a number 3,
Yep.
and maybe even better with the way he pitched. So I think that's why they're like, okay, if we get Verlander, we kind of solidify the rotation. The bullpen's basically set. I don't see them making any more bullpen moves. You still have to figure out shortstop and potentially center field and first base. So I think that's why they're trying to get a starter quickly. And that's why, because they have, get it out of the way. Verlander seems like he wants to be a Yankee. Maybe end his career with the Yankees, something like that. Who knows? But I just don't see them making a big move. If they made a big move with Oakland to get Olsen and a starter, then that's fine. But are they going to want to give up that many prospects? That's why I think if they're okay, we reset the luxury tax. We can pay big money for this year, next year, and then when Verlander's gone, it resets again. So that's probably, they're just like, let's throw out the money now because it really doesn't matter. We're just going to reset the luxury tax in another couple of years. So I think that's probably the route they're going to take. They were never going to really get Syndergaard, even though he's coming off injury as well. Stroman, they weren't getting one of these big starting pitchers unless it fell into their laps in a trade where it seems like we have to get rid of this guy. Just give us your best offer. That's probably not going to happen. So Verlander seems like to me, it seems like it's almost a done deal.
It feels like a fait accompli. Yeah, it really does feel like a fait accompli. What do you think he's going to ask for? Between 50 and 20 million a year?
It's maybe. That's the case.
I guess I think the championship, caliber, the ace, the second ace on a rotation that he can be, depending on how he's, come back from the injury. I think it's going to be, it'll be between the 15 to 20, but I think it's going to be more 18 and 20 a year is where he's going to end up getting. So
it seems like an awful lot. It just seems like an awful lot. Why even spend needlessly? As you just mentioned, Rob, we got Montgomery.
Yep.
So
that's why I'm not really going crazy with Verlander, because he's not a necessity for the rotation. It's not like we have all these holes. Last year, we really didn't know what we were going to get from anybody. So we added Tyone and Kluber, and we kind of got lucky with them coming, with the injuries that they've had, especially Tyone. He had, back-to-back surgeries. He was a couple of years that he didn't pitch. And once he got into that once the season got going, like we predicted was going to happen, he started to pick up and pitch like himself again. Kluber became very injury prone. We got the no-hitter from him. Woohoo. Big deal. Everybody threw a no-hitter last year in the beginning. So
it's true.
And it's not to take away from it. It's still an accomplishment. But, when 8 people do it, it really doesn't make it that much more, that much special. So I just think that the rotation, who do you take out? who do you move? The only one really is Herman.
Well, there's still that fifth spot. So if they do sign Verlander, you're looking at Cole, Verlander, Sevy, Monty, Tyone, and Luis Gil's probably trade bait, which he could go with one of the 18 shortstops we have for a guy like Olsen.
Yeah.
So that, to me, that's the route they will probably take, because it is going to take a lot to get Olsen. They're not just going to give him away. Anyone who thinks it's going to be Glaber and Voit can go kick rocks, because it's not going to happen. It's going to take a lot of prospects. Or maybe they want to start using these prospects as trades to get a guy like Brian Reynolds. Look, if they're spending big this offseason and they get one of those shortstops, preferably Correa, why do you need 8 other shortstops in the minor league system? You're going to have to trade somebody.
Yeah. Well,
As we were discussing in yesterday.
Real quick, Donald. I asked the question to Donald and Evan yesterday. I'll ask you, Rob. Is this that season that you unload the farm and really just fill all the needs that we have, being we have such an abundance of prospects that are available to move for other teams?
It depends on what they do at shortstop. If they're signing Correa, then it's a big if. If they get Correa, I'd be willing to trade Volpe for Brian Reynolds. I would. Because why are you giving 10 years to a shortstop and you're going to keep Volpe in the minor leagues? It's like, to make a guy go play shortstop and then be like, okay, when we call you up, you're going to play third. It's not going to be an easy transition. Gleyber Torres is a prime example. A young guy having to learn a new position on the fly. So if you get Correa, even if you get Seager, I don't want Seager moving to third. That's not an easy transition either. Everyone seems to be like, they're making it seem like it's going to be this simple transition. In 2 years, Seager's going to go play third and he's going to be good at it. To me, that doesn't make a lot of sense. Let's give you 10 years just to switch positions because we have this prospect coming up. So it depends on what they do at shortstop. If you get one of those guys, and it seems like it's going to be Seager, then I'd be willing to unload everybody but Dominguez, really, because you don't have the outfield depth in the minor leagues that you do in the infield. They have 3 really good, close to major league ready infield prospects: Volpe, Peraza, and Cabrera. Sweeney's on the come up. They're about to get Arias. You don't need that. You don't need 5 shortstops in your minor league system. Now, a lot of those guys will change positions, but you can move them and still keep one of them, or 2 of them. You could still keep Peraza and Sweeney, because Arias isn't going anywhere. They haven't even signed him yet. But if you can get Brian Reynolds and it's going to cost you Volpe and prospects, I mean, that team is going to be very hard to beat. If you get Correa or Seager and Reynolds in the same lineup with Judge and Stanton and Gallo, and it's just, I think this is the year. You might have to think about doing it. I know they want to see the future of the team. I'm a big prospect guy as well. I would love for every one of these prospects to work out, and our lineup is nothing but homegrown players to a degree, but it doesn't work that way. Sometimes you have to sell high. Volpe is one of those sell high candidates. Naturally, I'd keep him because it seems like he's going to be a stud, but he's only in low A ball right now, or high A. So it's not like he's going to be ready next year. To expect a guy to jump from high A to the major leagues when he's, just getting to the high A level this year, that's a big ask. So he's one of those sell high guys as well. I'd be willing to do it if we sign Correa. Go get Brian Reynolds. That team is filthy, offensively and defensively.
I would love Brian Reynolds, for sure. But we've finally got some prospects to be excited about that could really be part of something special in the future, from what we're hearing, especially from Volpe and Dominguez. I certainly don't want to be getting rid of those 2 guys. I think those 2 guys should be protected. But you're quite right in the fact that if we're going to go and we're going to put major years into a shortstop and as a free agent, there's absolutely no point having all these shortstops that we already have in the minors coming through. and we're not even talking about even Oswaldo Cabrera. There's also Peraza, there's also Volpe, and there's also all these guys who's mentioned Sweeney, but I think Sweeney's going to move. But there's no point in having them all. So I would say that I think you protect one of them, and you can maybe make the others available. But I think you make them available for a whole plethora of positions that we need to address. We've got center field to address. We got catcher to address. First base to address, and that's just a start. So I think that I think I would like to keep a hold of Volpe. I'm excited for him, and I'm excited for Dominguez. The Seager thing is verging on a below-average shortstop. He might already be a below-average shortstop. Certainly, if you look at the analytics, he is. So that's why they're talking about possibly moving him in a couple of years. And it's kind of a similar story with Trevor Story, for instance. He's declined defensively over the last year. So the Yankees have to be smart here, because there's absolutely no point putting 6-7 years in a below average shortstop if you've got really good shortstops already coming through in a year. So the Yankees need to be smart here. I am not in the camp where the Yankees need to have a payroll of $270 million to win a World Series. If you've got talent that's already coming through, we've got the assets in order to make 2 or 3 trades that could instantly make us a better team. You don't need to add $20 million on Verlander and then go and sign a shortstop for $300 million. I don't think we need to be doing that. I think we need to just be a little smarter here. I know this is fantasy baseball time where we can come up with all kinds of wild names and trades and things like that, but we can make a hell of a team by just
that's
being
the point of the off
canny.
season is you still have that window where you can imagine and believe that you're going to have this phenomenal team, and everybody is still, every player is on the table at this, during the off season.
I'm just saying, I think we can have
the fun of it. But when you were saying with the payroll, I think if the payroll is going to go up to 270, even, for argument's sake, 300. If the money's being spent on the right players, that are going to be able to get us that championship and have multiple years that they're with us, then as long as the money is spent wisely is pretty much what I'm saying. I'm not opposed to having the higher payroll, even though teams do it with the less.
It's not about the payroll. I'm saying that it's about the talent. I think you can put together one hell of a team without needing to go way above the payroll. So I would say that adding $20 million on Verlander is almost a waste of money. I think you can put that money into better resource. I can list off a bunch of better resource you could put that money into Verlander.
Verlander, I'm not a fan of coming of him. Although it seems likely that he will, from what's being said, and Bassan, he's not a hack of a beat writer. He's pretty. He has his moments where it's like, you're a little off, but he's usually pretty good with putting information out that's as accurate as we can get.
Yeah, I trust him.
Yeah. It's not like other guys that we could, mention. But that just throwing it.
Passan seems to think that Correa is going to go to Detroit.
That'd be interesting.
My thing is, if we're spending big money on a shortstop, why move the guy to third base? That just doesn't make sense. One thing I will give Alex Rodriguez credit for is he made that transition to third look very easy, and it's not.
That's what it is. We saw that, and we think now everybody could do that, and that's not the case.
But Alex Rodriguez was a very good shortstop, and he was a very good third baseman. Corey Seager is a below-average shortstop, and they're expecting him to be paid up to $30 million a year potentially, and go from being a below-average shortstop to a good third baseman. If that's the case, then just sign a stopgap for 2 years and let Volpe come up.
Well, that's why I was that's why I had interest in Trevor Story. I think you could get him on a short deal until you see what you have that with Volpe, Peraza, Cabrera.
Yeah.
It'll give
I
you
would
time to
rather
see where they're
hold on.
developing because you can get hit one. People, and I've said it for a couple of shows already. He's got the umbrella of Coors Field over his head. You could use that for negotiation. He had a very down year in 21. So you could be all right, give us a 2-3 year deal, prove yourself that you could play outside of Coors as your home field, show that, show what your metrics can be in a new environment. Maybe Story ends up being somebody that you re-sign long term, like we did with LeMahieu. You'd never know. And look, Trevor Story and LeMahieu are not in the same category. I'm not saying that. But it gives you a window to see what you could do with shortstop for the future.
Yeah, I can see that but I just don't think Story is going to want that. He's going to use his track record. He's going to want at least 5. I don't think you're going to give him 5. That's why if it's either you go all in on one of those guys, Seager or Correa, or you go for a stopgap guy, and you're saying, okay, we're all in on Volpe, because I would think that's what was that?
Who would you think of as a stopgap?
Jonathan Villar. He's a switch hitter. He's been a good hitter almost everywhere he's been. He played a really good year in the Mets last year. Why not? He was a good shortstop. He played there plenty, and his analytics backed it up. He can play all over the place. He can play second, third, first, short. He can play the outfield if you need him to. Yankees love versatility, and to me, he'd be a perfect fit for 2 years. You're getting a good hitter. You're getting a decent defender.
Yeah.
Or you can go with Simmons. I don't like that idea, but that's the defense. That's probably the best defensive guy that's going to cost you cheap money. The best one is Correa, without a doubt. But if you're gonna go for a stopgap, it's Simmons or Villar or like a Freddie Galvis type, but that doesn't really wow me either. So
No.
I'm worried by Trevor Story's road stats. Have you seen the steep decline what he is on the road than he is at Coors Field? Like for instance, just at the very top, he's 241 batting average on the road as opposed to 303 at home. 442 slug on the road.
That's why I have him as the short-term stopgap.
So
you can get him cheap based on his numbers. You don't have to overpay for him.
Right, but look at those numbers. There's a stark difference there. The dude struggles away from Coors Field. I'm not quite sure if I want to invest big money on that either.
No, but I am more, as much as I've been bringing up Story, Villar is also a really good suggestion from Rob. And I think the way you break it down, it makes complete sense. Maybe we do, and it also gives you a little more financial flexibility to take care of center field and first base. That's something else that can be taken into account.
Yeah, I just don't think they have to spend. They don't have to spend big shortstops because they have so many in the system. But if you do, and let's say for the argument's sake, they get Correa, right, which would probably at this point, after what happened yesterday, spark a riot between Yankee fans. But you don't need 5 minor league shortstops. You just don't need it. So if Anthony Volpe, I'm keeping Dominguez. I already said I would have them be untouchable. But if that's what it took to get Brian Reynolds on this team, you imagine an offseason get Reynolds, Correa, Verlander, and still bring back Rizzo. I mean, that right there. That's the best offseason almost you could possibly have. Whether you get Rizzo or Olsen, or you get Marte or Reynolds, you're improving every position that needs to be improved on. You're getting the best shortstop in baseball. You're getting one of the best center fielders in baseball. You're getting a very good first baseman if Rizzo is the guy. He's still very good. He's not Olsen status right now, but he's still very good. Then the only position you really need to improve on is catcher. And the catching market's exceptionally thin right now. But you can still try to make a move for like more of a defensive guy. if you move on from Sanchez. Because let's face it, you could probably go with any defensive guy at catcher if 8 of your 9 guys are hitting 20 plus home runs or something like that. You can live with one position being the defensive position.
100%. Would you sign Marte? I like the
I
top
would.
of the order.
I would. I don't at that point. I wouldn't care about righty lefty because if you get Rizzo or Olsen and you have Gallo already, you got 2 lefties, which is better than none, which we had going into last year. There's still a chance Aaron Hicks is on this team. Hope not, but Marte can hit righties or lefties. He's got the versatility. He's got the speed that we don't have. Correa is a guy that he's athletic. He can hit anybody. We know Judge and Stanton have no trouble with. Doesn't matter who they're going against. So, to me, the balance will be there. I would be fine with Marte if they went the route, let's just spend money and keep the prospects. That's perfectly fine. Because if that means Aaron Hicks is gone, I'm all for it. It's just really a wait and see game because they're in on everybody. Every single reporter, like the Yankees, are in on Marte. They're in on Reynolds. They're in on Olsen. They're in on Freddie Freeman. We're not getting him, but they're in on everybody.
Yeah, well, they should be in on everybody until nobody, until they, as the dominoes fall off the table, they should be talking to everybody. And the one thing I would like to see, and it's kind of it might be looking too far ahead, is the holding on to some of the prospects just in case these moves that we're making that, for a VR or, Story, Marte, or somebody that we're just getting for a temporary amount of time, still leaving some of the prospects in our pocket in case we need to make any trades. If you get, make all these moves in the off season, you kind of handcuff yourself at the deadline. So I think that's something else that Cashman's going to be very weird, very cautious about.
Well, they could go that route. I mean, technically, they could sign every position they need help at. They could sign Marte. They could sign Rizzo. They can sign Correa or Seager or Villar, whatever way you want to go. And we can leave the prospects where they are. And you can sign Verlander as well. They could go crazy on the payroll this year. You could move Hicks. That would save some money. You can move Voit. That would save some money. Next year, Chapman's off the book, so that saves money. They're probably going to get rid of Britton. That saves money. So you could make it work and still keep the majority of your big name prospects and save them for a potential trade down the line. So they could go that route. That's the beauty of it. They could really go, and I said this the other day, they can go so many different directions. I just want them to make something happen before we get this lockout, because once we get the lockout, nothing's going to happen.
Yeah.
And we're going to be sitting here waiting and be like, I really wish we signed Justin Verlander. At least we had something to talk about.
Yeah, we don't have to worry about this, Rob. I'm sure that but even Michael Kay said he's pretty sure deals, a couple of deals will be made by even Friday. So at least one move's going to be made by Friday. So I agree with you. But the thing is, we actually have to make trades because we need to free up room on the 40-man. We can't just sign 5-6 free agents because there's no room in the 40-man. So there's going to need to be a bunch of trades made. That's why I think Olsen makes the most sense in terms of upside, fact that he's 27 as opposed to 32, and also, you can stick him right in the middle of your order for the next, as long as you want, really, when you re-sign him. Yeah. So it kind of makes a lot of sense. Plus, it'll cost a bunch of assets. The Yankees do need to move off some dudes to free up room on the 40-man to add some guys, plus our oncoming free agents. So I think there'll be a bunch of trades that need to be made anyway. I think we should I think obviously Voit has to go. I think Torres needs to go. I think Sanchez needs to go. And then obviously you'll be at least 2 of our infield prospects. I think we'll certainly 1, maybe possibly 2 of our top infield prospects will be traded to, I assume. And then there'll be a bunch of starting pitching prospects. There'll be a couple of them too. Maybe David Garcia. Don't know what's going on with Clark Schmidt. He's the Yankees haven't done a great job with him. They've just been kind of using him out of the bullpen. He's struggled for the most part, and he's gone kind of hurt, and it's just typical Yankee missed development of prospects. But there's going to be a bunch of trades that need to be made. I think that's the must in order to free up room on the 40-man. That all needs to be done by December 1st. Well, not all of it, but certainly a good chunk of it if you want to make a good start and free agents.
Well, that was one of the things we speculated that before the lockout is when we're going to see an influx of moves throughout baseball. I think some of the free agent guys are going to want to sign before the lockout because they want to make sure that there's no fine print in the new agreement that can limit what they can make. Where if their contract is already signed, then I think whatever rules are in now, as far as with obviously contracts are guaranteed. It's not like other sports. What you sign for is what you get. But I think, also with, arbitration control, all that type of, the Rule 5, I think that's all going to be grandfathered. More, I was thinking about it after we talked about it yesterday. I think that's the only way that they could really keep the wheels moving into getting an agreement done, is having everything. We're not going to punish the arbitration years now. It's going to be something that any new signings or anybody that's not already on the 40-man, those arbitration years are secured. So I think that's the way it's really going to work out.
Did you see the money the Angels just gave to Syndergaard?
No, I haven't seen the announcement.
Yeah.
$21 million for 1 year.
How much?
So
Whoa.
21. Verlander's getting 20 or maybe 18.
That's what I said. It said 18 to 20.
So, yeah. The fact, and then we also forget that Eduardo Rodriguez just got a very big deal to go to the Tigers, which
80 million, 5 for 77, but it could rise to 80.
Verlander's getting 20 for 2 years. Maybe that's why he's, because technically he'd be better off just taking the qualifying offer, go back to Houston for a year so that he's healthy. But if someone's going to give him a multi-year deal for $20 million a year, then he's going to take that. That's more money, and he ends his career with $40 million instead of 1 year 18.9. But that's crazy. So
that makes more sense to have the minimum amount, like I said, at 18 because of the qualifying offer.
Yeah, I mean, maybe
he's not going to sign for less than what the qualifying offer was.
Maybe you give him 2 years, 19 a year, something like that.
A year, $21 million. You know what's funny? Because now the Mets have obviously just got Epler, the ex-Angel GM, and he's lost Syndergaard, and he's gone to his old team. $21 million.
That's such a Met move.
The irony is beautiful. I love the irony.
They put something last night on MLB Network. Is this the future Mets GM? I said, I hope so. This guy was the Yankees assistant GM. And what did he do when those years he was our assistant GM? We signed crazy money. We spent crazy money on nothing. Guys that didn't even help us make the playoffs. And Beltran, McCann, even Tanaka and Ellsbury. And he went to the Angels, didn't spend a dime on pitching when they needed it for every single year he was there. Instead, he gave big money to Rendon to get hurt. And he's wasting great years of the best player in baseball. 2 of the best players in baseball now, with Ohtani and Trout. So congratulations, Mets. You got yourself a really good one.
That was just genius. But it's an incredible irony. I mean, what can you even say at this point? But, you add the fact that when you consider Verlander, wow, if Syndergaard's getting 21, Verlander's going to be in that range too.
Yeah.
It might actually, Verlander's price might have gone up.
I still think the age plays a factor. Syndergaard is much younger. He at least, I think he pitched in the minors last year. He might have pitched a little bit for the Mets at the end of the year, but Verlander's going to get something close to it. It might be, 2 years, 19 a year. It could be 2 years, 18 and a half a year. I think he's going to want that second year. That's why he's turning down the qualifying offer.
Yeah.
That's what I think it is. He wants the multi-year deal. But $21 million for Syndergaard is crazy. So yeah, you can expect Verlander's getting at least, like you said, Tats 18.
Yeah. Yeah, and hopefully tomorrow when we come on, we're actually saying, hey, we were right on the deal, and that the Yankees signed him. But
you want? So are you saying that you actually want Verlander, Tats? Because you just said hopefully.
I don't want the Yankees to just make a move. Let us know that you're awake.
We know they're awake. They're making a million conversations right now. They're more than awake.
No, I think with the Syndergaard news, Berrios signing with Toronto, we've seen
he got a lot too. He got 130, I think.
Yeah. So I mean, I think today's the day you're going to see in the next a few hours. You're going to see a lot of some of these players start coming off the market, and I think with Rodriguez going to Texas to the Tigers. I did that all day yesterday, Donald, right? I kept saying the wrong state, team, whatever. So with now Boston has a hole in their rotation. I think they're also going to be in on Verlander.
I mean, that's fine if they want to go and get Verlander. I'm not going to be upset, if we don't get Justin Verlander. I would be fine with us getting him, because it just seems like we're going to get him.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's the move that puts us over the top. It helps us if he's healthy, but that's a big if, So
no, it's like I said, if the rotation stays status quo, I think we're still okay. I don't think we're in any state of panic. But it's just the fact that if we sign a free agent pitcher, and I don't think Robbie Ray is an option, because he's going to be, especially that he's up for the Cy Young, that he's just going to cost more than all the others that are free agent. He's going to catch the top dollar, whether he wins it or not, just for the year he had. And I don't think it's going to be with the Blue Jays, because they just gave all that money to Berrios.
Well, they're still talking. According to the reports, they're still talking to him, and they're also talking to Kevin Gausman. So they're willing to spend on the pitching. They know they have the offense to compete.
Yeah.
They just need that. Well, now they got Berrios. They're probably going to – I think they'll get Ray back. And if they get another really good pitcher, I mean, they still have Ryu, so they're going to be a force. The Yankees have to go all out this offseason to compete in this AL East, because Tampa's not going anywhere. Toronto is showing us they're here to stay. We know Boston's going to compete because they already have a good team. The Yankees, they have to make moves if they want to compete in just this division. Forget the AL, the American League for a second. They got to compete in the East first.
Yeah, I think this is going to be one of those years. I think when all is said and done, I don't think it's a guarantee that the Yankees are a World Series favorite. I think the competition is going to be too deep.
So go and use your assets that we know they have. Go spend. Yep. I don't care if anyone says you're buying a championship. Because if we win a World Series this year with a $300 million payroll, I'm going to say, oh, well, we won a championship, didn't we? I don't give a damn anymore. I just want to be there. Go spend the money.
When will the Yankees trust one of their young starters that they've got coming through? When are they ever going to trust them? I mean, if this is the ideal opportunity, you can the fifth slot in the rotation. There's not a lot of pressure on you in the fifth slot. Why not give Heel a run at the fifth spot? He already proved it to you last year. We already discussed David Garcia, and they made a mistake with the way they treated David Garcia last year, and I think it had an effect on him. I think it kind of messed him around. Heel is actually a much better pitcher than David Garcia. He's got much better stuff. He's unhittable when he's got control of his pitches. Give him the fifth spot, man. We need to start developing and trusting our young guys, because we just don't do it. We just keep putting on another year. Oh, we're going to sign Kluber for this year. Oh, we're going to sign Verlander for this year too. Wait, dudes, we're way over 30. Why not trust one of our young pitchers? They can surprise you.
When we do that, I'm sorry, they turn into relief pitchers. Dellin Betances turned into a relief pitcher. Phil Hughes turned into pitcher for us at least, Jabba Chamberlain.
Yeah, look what we did to
But
Chamberlain.
we do have two of those guys in Sevy and Montgomery in our rotation right now. So, I mean, it's not like they don't trust him. A lot of the times, though, they just come up and they mess them up. You know, they've already messed with Clark Schmidt, and he's barely pitched. They already messed with Davey Garcia, and the kid hasn't even reached 23 yet, I don't think. So it's what they do instead of saying, okay, you're a starter. So I think that what they did with Luis Heel was right. And then they just decided, okay, well, now we're not going to use you, or we're just going to use it at the bullpen. That I don't like. If you're going to use him as a starter, use him as a starter. Some guys are better in the bullpen. It's just the way it works. Not everybody is going to be a starting pitcher in this league.
Vice versa. Because they keep doing it with Clark Schmidt, and now he's a bit of a mess. And that's a shame because he was so highly heralded. But then they started throwing him in the middle relief, and some guys are not cut out for it.
Well, that's why I kind of want to move on some of these guys now for, in the trade, because the Yankees don't have a track record of handling these pitches very well.
Nope. And their value is only going to go down.
They talk them up, and by the time that they actually they get exposed, and they're not as ready as we think. Look at the hype with Garcia. You could even use this example for Chance Adams. He was somebody that was deemed untouchable at one point. And look what we got for him. We didn't get anything.
We could have had Garrett Cole 2 years earlier. Do you believe that was the trade? They didn't want to give up Andujar, Chance Adams, and I think it was Clint Frazier was also part of that trade.
Yeah, those were the
three guys. Two of them that might be non-tendered for us this year.
Yes.
Andujar and Frazier. The other one, I don't even know where Chance Adams is. So, yeah, I think you have to, as much of a prospect guy as I am, you have to move on from some of these guys. That's why it would pain me to do it. But if you sign a shortstop, I'd be willing to trade Volpe to upgrade a position of need right now. And it's not like Brian Reynolds is a 33-year-old with a couple of years left. He's like 26 or something like that, 27, with plenty of years of control. So sometimes you just have to move on, know when to pull the trigger on a trade with these prospects because they're not all going to work out. And let's not forget, when we drafted Volpe, Yankee fans were like, well, who is this guy? It's just when they have one good year in the minors, like, no, don't trade him. Don't trade him. So sometimes you have to make up your mind. Do you want to trade this guy? Do you not want to? I think they're going to hold on to him. I think they will. Those are two guys, Dominguez and Volpe, that are untouchable. Everybody else needs to be on the table, though. If you have a chance to significantly, like you said, Donald, improve this team via trades and free agency, you have to do it because the AL East continues to get better every single year. We have to get better with it. We're not just going to win with this team we have right now. It's not happening.
And when I was on with the boys in the Big Apple pod last night, it was an interesting point they says is that Brian Cashman has to overcompensate in talent to make up for the coaching situation that we have with Aaron Boone as manager. You actually basically have to put an all-star team on the field in order to be assured that we might be able to win some games with the fact that there's such a weak manager that we have there. And I think that's an excellent point because Cashman is going all out. He's all out. I mean, he's trying to sign every single all-star he could possibly do. Part of it, I think, is to justify Aaron Boone. If you give him a good enough team, he might not screw it up. And I'm only saying might. And also, obviously gives us a chance of competing in the playoffs, which at the moment we're not even close to. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done. I think at least 5, possibly 6 positions that we need to address. And it's a big off season, man. There's a lot of moving parts.
No, there's a lot. There's a lot of speculation still to be had, and the rumor wire is just gonna, the rumor mill is just gonna continue to churn and turn. And it's but I'm still gonna say I'm gonna take the guess that today's the day that you're gonna start to see some of these players come off the board like we're seeing. So tomorrow there could be even a little bit more to talk about as far as who's signed where. Hopefully, somebody's coming to the Yankees pretty soon. December 1st is coming a lot quicker than people realize.
Quickly, we got Luis Rojas, dude. What do you think of this? Their base coach has been confirmed.
It is what it is. It's not anything special.
Going to have the nicest coaching staff in baseball. And I say nice, I don't mean like in a good way. I mean like, oh, they're going to be very friendly.
Yeah, I mean, in fairness to Rojas, he is an excellent coach. Like, he knows baseball inside out. I mean, I don't think there's any question that if you look at the baseball IQ between him and Aaron Boone, Rojas wins hands down. He's coached right through the minor league systems. He's got a very good track record with that. I've been complaining that there's no teachers at the major league level. We've actually addressed that. So I actually want to give a little bit of credit to him for that. We need teaching at the major league level. We just had a whole analytics coaching staff that had very little coaching experience, and they didn't do a good job. Nobody developed. So if Rojas can work with some of our younger guys and maybe work with some of our positional players and improve them in that respect, then great. Just if you're asking him to be the yin to Aaron Boone's yang, he's not the guy. So we still need to find another coach that's going to do that to make up for Aaron Boone's deficiencies.
So what's the angry side of yin and yang? Because I don't know. What's supposed to be like the nice side of the yin and yang thing? Because what's Aaron
I know.
Boone? I don't know. He's the nice guy. So it's good cop, bad cop, right? Who's going to be the bad guy? It ain't going to be Rojas.
Well, what's Aaron Boone? He's like a lollipop. I don't even know what he is. He's just completely useless. Let's be kind to him. I'm going to be kind to him and just say he's only useless. And so we need to have a whole incredible coaching staff to prop him up a little bit.
I just give Rachel the shot at hitting coach and let her yell at some people, because she's probably going to do more than Aaron Boone would do in an argument. Aaron Boone gets credit by some people for being angry because he had the savage in the box ramp. But other than that, what does he do? He just kind of goes out there and looks at you and chews his gum. I don't know. I want some fire. That's where Nevin did come into play, but he was such a bad third base coach that you couldn't keep him around. But if you're looking for good cop, bad cop, I don't know. I don't want to put the angry woman label on her because I don't know her or anything, but I don't know. Just give us some fire. I feel like she would argue more than Aaron Boone would, because we've already seen Aaron Boone not having his players' backs.
I'm not interested in her anger. I'm just interested in the fact that she obviously knows baseball a hell of a lot more than Aaron Boone does.
Obviously,
from everything I hear, she's a sensational coach. So
I'm not saying
that's why.
I'm just saying I want someone who's going to argue when they need to argue, and Aaron Boone doesn't do that. So maybe she can be that. She's also going to help with the hitting. Obviously, she knows what she's doing. So there's a lot of positives to it. I would be weary of giving her the job simply because they don't like to utilize coaches for what they know how to do. So
we've also been linked with Eric Chavez, Rob, and Tats as another guy who we've interviewed.
That's not a bad option.
Yeah, I could see it. Wasn't he already part of our front office for a little bit?
It's possible. I'm not sure about that, but I know that we've interviewed him.
I think he was interviewed for the manager's job before Boone got it.
Yes.
That's where his name came up.
Shame we didn't hire him.
Yeah. Well, hopefully this is it's a way to get his foot in the door to be the next manager.
Listen, it's been a month since the last time I complained about Aaron Boone, so I think I've done pretty well. I've held off for a month, and I can now stay quiet till February. I'll try.
Boone therapy. Boone's Anonymous, so you have to contain your anger. He got a chip. He got a month's worth of chips, and now he had to use one because he called him useless.
All right. Well, we're gonna wrap things up.
I'll need 4 years worth, Rob. 4 years worth.
Give me your chip.
I'm not looking forward. It's gonna be interesting. We all love Donald's rants on Bone. They're epic. But that's going to wrap things up for us today. Just remember, like, share, comment, and subscribe. Check out sportnarium.com/player for all sports radio. And wear your pinstripes with pride and play hard.
Thanks so much for listening, guys.